episode of On the Line. I'm Joe Rexrode here in the Tennessee Studios, USA Today Network. This week we're kind of going back to our SEC roots. We had some loudmouth people who wouldn't stop talking for the Big Ten last week trying to defend that conference. We're going to keep it SEC here, guys. We've got two for the price of one in Knoxville. Tyler Horka covers Mississippi State for the Clarion Ledger, is with us. We're going to keep it simple. A couple topics here. First of all, is Virginia Tech, Old Dominion. Have we seen the biggest upset we'll see in college football this year? BYU at Wisconsin comes to mind. Of course, a huge streak broken with Kentucky at Florida. But to me, I can't imagine we'll see something bigger than this one.
Joe, I think we almost saw the upset of the year when Army almost beat Oklahoma. Had that one happened, I would have said we've seen the upset of the year. With the Virginia Tech loss, I think that's really notable for Old Dominion. I also wonder if we're going to find out that Virginia Tech just isn't that good. We were hanging Virginia Tech's ranking up to this point over the fact that they looked so good against Florida State. Come to find out, Florida State's not any good. And so had Army beat Oklahoma, that would have been an upset with playoff implications. Virginia Tech losing to Old Dominion is notable, but it's not a loss that has playoff implications.
Well, we're not going to see that many upsets like this because we're just about done with non-conference play. You're not going to have many more Conference USAs playing ACCs or anybody like that. So ODU is probably going to hold up as the biggest upset. It makes a little sense. I know ODU was winless going into that game, but that's a team that typically pulls those upsets. It's a spread offense with a 5'10" quarterback that can throw it around, and if they're playing at home, as long as schools like Virginia Tech go to another place and play at a Conference USA type school in their home stadium, these things are going to happen. But yeah, ODU is going to hold up the rest of the year.
Okay, before Mike and Tyler weigh in, what the heck did you just take a swig of, Blake? And Adam, I know you're proud of your bobblehead collection, but keep your head in the screen.
I got to stay hydrated, Joe.
All right, Tyler, what do you think?
I think, this is definitely the biggest upset that we're going to see this year. When you look at the point spread, I think it was close to 30 points, 28.5. That's the biggest FBS versus FBS non-conference upset that we've seen in the last 5 years. So, what Old Dominion did, that'll stand as the biggest upset this year.
Old Dominion is terrible. For anybody who doesn't know, it was at Old Dominion, but they are awful, even for their level. Mike Wilson.
This is a team that played in the FCS 5 years ago as well. So, not a good football team.
I would submit that if Tennessee wins an SEC game this year, that is the biggest upset of the year, because I don't think they have a shot to win one of those. But no, Old Dominion Virginia Tech surely has to stack up as that. It doesn't make sense. But maybe we're downplaying the road environment that Old Dominion could be tougher than we're thinking. But no, certainly, again, I think Blake made a valid point there. We were valuing Virginia Tech on beating Florida State, but Florida State is atrocious. So how good is Virginia Tech actually? Unsure. Lost to Old Dominion. So they're probably pretty bad, actually.
Hold that Tennessee thought, because we're going to talk SEC East, SEC West. Real fast, though. Recent development, I do want to throw a little curveball and throw this in here to you guys. Kelly Bryant, transfer rule. Here we go. He's moving on from Clemson. Do we like or do we dislike this transfer rule?
I love it. I think this is what I think needs to be applauded most in this situation is the way that Kelly Bryant and Dabo Swinney handled it. Dabo could have played Kelly Bryant this week, and then he couldn't do this. But the way it's set up allows him to do it. And I actually think this is a great application of that rule. It allows Clemson to have the best team it can have. At the same time, it also affords Kelly Bryant an opportunity to play out another year and still have pro prospects he might not have otherwise.
Yeah, this brings in kind of a new event in college football, which is the fourth game rule. You can get your red shirt back if you play the first 4 games. In the years ahead, it's going to be akin to the trading deadline in pro sports. Every time we get a month into the season, everybody's going to look around and say, okay, who can bolt right now after playing 4 games?
Kelly Bryant is a guy who led Clemson to the CFP as well. And when you get a name as big as him transferring, I think this is going to, set off the tidal wave that this rule allows for when you see a name as big as him transfer right away.
I don't like the idea of players transferring in mid-season, leaving the program mid-season. But in the case of Kelly Bryant, I think that's where this rule works. I think it makes sense for him. If you have a freshman, sophomore leaving the team in the middle of the season, I don't like that. I think you play out the season, then you look to transfer. In the case of Kelly Bryant, if he plays one more game, he can't play another season. He's done everything he was supposed to do for 3.5 years for that program, been a good player, been a good teammate by all accounts, and I think he deserves to be a starting quarterback somewhere. And so this opens the avenue for him to do that.
I'm proud of you, Blake. I thought you'd be a lot more get off my lawn than that. I will say one thing to you, Mike. You said that this allows Clemson's best team. This is not Clemson's best team. And when Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, Dabo Swinney's going to be wishing that he still had his 1B quarterback. But that's how it's going to go. And of course, we see how Nick Saban handled his situation. Certainly with this in mind. All right, let's go SEC West. First of all, score one for the SEC East. They beat the team you covered, Tyler, which was another surprise for me with Kentucky. Georgia is elite, but will we ever see the SEC East approach the SEC West, guys?
I don't think the disparity is as big as it was a few years ago. I really think the disparity is between like Alabama and everybody else, and now I guess Georgia has closed the gap there. But if you take Alabama out of the equation, I think of the 4 next best teams in the SEC, 2 of them are from the East. You got Auburn and LSU from the West. You got Georgia and Kentucky from the East right now. And so I don't think there's a landslide of difference like there was maybe back in the 2014 season when the West had all the power. Georgia has become elite again. I think Dan Mullen's going to get the thing going at Florida. The worst teams are still in the East. Tennessee comes to mind. But overall, you take Alabama out of the equation, and I don't think it's as different as it once was.
Well, the problem with that is you can't take Alabama out of the equation, and it's been 10 years now since they've been an elite team every single year. The problem with the SEC East is you don't know if you're going to have an elite team every single year. But now, obviously, Georgia looks like with Kirby Smart, the way he recruits, the way he gets those recruits to play, yeah, they'll probably be elite for the foreseeable future. But in the SEC West, you've got teams that kind of inch closer to Alabama's level. In the SEC East, I mean, like you said, Kentucky's probably the only one that's inching closer to Georgia at the current moment.
Boy, there was so much love for Kentucky here. Someone tell me Kentucky's not that good.
I mean, what I watched Saturday night in person, Kentucky looked pretty good. They didn't just beat Mississippi State. They smashed them in the mouth on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Joe, the SEC West is going to be dominant over the SEC East until, I mean, the problem is with Smokey. Smokey is the issue here. That's the only way I could incorporate Tennessee there. The problem is with Tennessee and Florida. SEC West, if they're good, Auburn, Alabama, LSU have to be dominant. For the SEC East to be good, it's got to be the traditional Florida, Tennessee, Georgia. Tennessee and Florida have not held up their end of the bargain. Until they become dominant again, the West is going to be the better division. I just don't think historically you can count on Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and I know there's a former Missouri beat writer on the call, but Missouri should not be winning the SEC East. They just shouldn't, or there's something wrong with the East Division. So until those traditional powers come up, you're not going to see the East catch up with the West.
Tell Blaine Gabbert that. Mike Wilson?
Yeah, I'm mad at Adam because that's definitely where I'm at on this. And it's not just, though, that Florida and Tennessee are bad. They're the worst 2 teams in the SEC East, it looks like. And those are the teams that have to be competing with Georgia, and they're not. I mean, Vanderbilt's not going to be that program year in and year out. Kentucky's not. Mizzou's not. You've got to have good Florida and good Tennessee for the East to have any chance of stacking up whatsoever. I don't love the West right now. I don't think LSU is as great as it's playing. I'm not sure Auburn's as great as it's playing either. Certainly Mississippi State took kind of a punch in the face this week. But the Alabama dynamic's there, and as long as Alabama's there, that division's always going to be better. But the East absolutely needs a better Georgia and a better Tennessee, or at least a middling Tennessee and Florida, because those teams are the worst in the East right now, and I don't think it's that close.
Even after Florida, blew Tennessee's doors off. Still no.
That doesn't impress me that much.
Doesn't impress you. I guess they did sort of get a few gimmies that way. All right, good stuff, guys. I'm probably never going to pick Mike, and I tend to shade toward the new people. So Tyler, I liked his take, reminding Blake that yes, Alabama does still count in the equation. take of the day from Tyler Horka. Thanks, guys. We'll be back next week on the Line.